When you drive down the streets of Webster Groves, you probably notice this: rows of trees prominently featuring a decorative heart. And if you're like me, you wonder, why?
Of course, when I see them, it's creating awareness for this congenital heart defect community. It's creating awareness for Mighty Oaks Heart Foundation.
Welcoming a new child into the world is hectic in itself, but nearly 40,000 infants in the U.S. each year are born with congenital heart disease, creating a myriad of other stressful decisions for families, like the Ortyls in Webster Groves experienced. But despite their challenges, they've made it their mission to spread hope among the chaos for other families.
Mighty Oaks Heart Foundation is a nonprofit. We're headquartered here in St. Louis, but we help families who have children with congenital heart defects really all over the U.S. So often parents have to decide, am I going to stay here at the bedside with my kid while they're in critical condition, or do I have to go back to work?
The way the foundation helps is by paying some of the major financial burdens that come with caring for a sick child.
We'll go in and pay people's mortgages, their rent, utility bills, car payments, insurance, travel expenses. We really dig in to find out what each individual family needs to thrive, and that's what we focus on. We pay those bills so that parents can make the decision, I'm going to stay here with my kid, I'm going to advocate for them, I'm going to shower them with love, give them every reason to fight and get out of this hospital and go on with their lives.
Of course, Becky knows the ins and outs of what these families are facing from personal experience. Tell us about Oaks.
Yeah,
there we go, Mighty Oaks.
Oaks was born in 2011. He was our second child, first son. And the big thing about Oaks in our family was he introduced us to congenital heart defects and this whole world of kids who are born sick.
Are you gonna giggle?
Oaks was ultimately diagnosed with pulmonary vein stenosis, a rare condition with blockages in blood vessels that bring blood from the lungs back to the heart. He underwent several surgeries and eventually received a lung transplant.
I'm the Mighty Oaksy!
And while the furthest thing from a parent's mind when told their child needs life-saving surgery is the cost, the financial strain is a huge source of stress. The Ortyls were fortunate enough to have great insurance, but their friends and family decided to have a fundraiser anyway and raise nearly $100,000.
And I'm thinking, I have all this money and we don't need it. I was really letting my gut and heart lead me to run to the ATM in the basement of Children's, withdraw $100, wrap it up in a little piece of paper, give it to a nurse and say, take this to the mom down the hall. She needs it more than I do. Really quickly, that emergency fund that was raised for us, we met with an attorney friend, we set up a 501c3, we started going through the legal process to establish a nonprofit. So Oaks is in the hospital and we're setting up this nonprofit. It was the right thing to do. In hindsight, I can't believe we had the bandwidth to really get organized, but we did, and he got a lung transplant. And truly, in hindsight, that bought us about 9 months. 9 months that we treasured. When I talk about Oaks, I think of our foundation, I think about his diagnosis, but, as a mom, he was feisty, he was so strong. He was a big flirt. As a baby, it's hard to see personalities sometimes. And when your kid is sick and they're sedated or in their medically induced coma, it's hard to identify. But he made us laugh. He made his nurses smile. I mean, he got to know his older sister, who was 2 when he was born, and talk about light up. I mean, he just adored her. And they had and I think still have a really special bond.
In February of that year, Becky needed a creative outlet, so she decided to make a heart out of spare lumber as a Valentine's to Oaks. She placed it on her porch, and it caught the attention of the whole neighborhood.
That was the original heart, and then when Oaks passed away a couple months later, those neighbors, they tied red ribbons on all the trees and telephone poles going from our house to our church. No one needed to say anything. I felt the support. I felt so much love. It meant so much that Oaks was honored and remembered. And I told one of my neighbors, I said, I'm gonna be so sad when those ribbons fade and come down. And she said, we need to make a bunch of your red hearts.
The Red Hearts are not only a fitting tribute to Oaks and the many others like him, they are one of the sources of fundraising for the organization. The Ortyls would gather friends and families to make dozens of hearts for the public to purchase, and soon other groups started offering their services. One of those sources are the students in the shop class at Webster Groves High School.
So the Heart Project is something that we have had a couple of different woodshop teachers working on for around 10 years or so. This is something that actually works very well for both parties. If these kids develop a skill and they can use it to help other people as they go forward through life, then we win. And that's what we want. We want to develop citizens that are going to support others in our society and our community. They're going to take care of one another. They're going to be good neighbors and good parents. That's what we want.
Does it give a little bit more meaning in the work?
Yeah, it's really cool to see that. Around Webster, I see them all over the place. I actually have one at my house.
I like that it has, some imperfections. It's not a perfect heart. That's on purpose?
Yeah, we don't sand them to be completely smooth or perfect, because it doesn't work like that.
Just like a human heart, right? Yeah.
I think for different people, the hearts mean something different. And it could have a real personal meaning to one person and represent maybe a parent who has passed away for someone, or a milestone in their family's life. But it's been a really special project that has been with us from the beginning. I mean, the hearts are going strong, and it's amazing.
For Living St. Louis, I'm Brooke Butler.